Every year, there are severe disasters that impact individuals and businesses. If you are in a location that has the potential to be struck by some type of emergency, it's important to have a plan in place to make recovery as quick as possible.
Welcome to Biz Help for You, the show that saves you the expensive learning curve by providing advice from industry experts in every facet of the entrepreneurial journey. Too many small businesses collapse. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 20% fail within their first year, and less than 35% make it to their 10th anniversary. The goal of this podcast is to change that statistic. So if you're interested in learning more to be a successful entrepreneur, tune in today.
One major consideration is preserving tax documentation and receipts. Do you have paperwork stored in boxes or files? Do you want to have a more streamlined process, making it easier to keep and find your important paperwork and protect it in the event of an emergency? It's important to maintain a solid process for document storage in case you're audited and need to support your deduction claims. And many don't consider the impact a disaster could have on their businesses and the ability to produce necessary records. Floods, fires, tornadoes, or hurricanes can damage the items you have tried so carefully to store. The IRS has shared details to help you create an emergency preparedness plan for your business and offers guidance on what should be maintained. Remember to keep both personal and business documents, since you could be audited for either type of return. Important paperwork includes bank and credit card statements, insurance documents, tax returns, and receipts. If you're claiming mileage, be sure to maintain logs as well. Having a recovery plan is essential in case your business experiences a natural disaster, technology failure, or other unexpected event that causes normal business operations to halt. I want to share some best practices that can help you get your company back up and running after experiencing this kind of disruption. Number one, have a recovery plan. Having a recovery plan in place before a disaster strikes is the best way to guard your business against unnecessarily lost time and revenue. Making sure that you implement the right backup software and make arrangements for alternate workspaces for your staff are two of the most important things you can include in your plan. According to Computer Weekly, you will also want to designate team members who can put your recovery process into action and determine a recovery point objective, RPO, and recovery time objective, RTO, to decide how far back you will need to go to find a set of backup applications and how quickly they should be implemented. Number two, test your plan. Run a disaster recovery plan test at least once yearly to make sure that the processes you have put into place will actually work if your data is lost. While this testing can be costly and time-consuming, it is far less expensive than trying to recover all of your data in the event that the plan doesn't function properly during an actual disaster-related work interruption. Protect your backups. Disasters can be caused by more than Mother Nature. Protecting your backups in case of malware and ransomware can help you restore clean data in the event of a cyber invasion. While you can't air gap on a continual basis, looking at 12 to 24 hours of data is far preferable than having to go back even further to remove the effects of an attack. Number four, make a plan for communication. Establishing a plan for interdepartmental communication is also key. Disaster recovery can be a stressful and intense process, but it can be made easier by keeping lines of contact open and making clear who's in charge. Number five, decide where your staff will work. In the event that your main business location is not accessible, you'll need to be able to have a plan for where your staff members will work. Keep in mind that your employees may need access to certain pieces of equipment or data in order to perform their essential job functions, so plan accordingly. If employees have been working from home, you'll want to determine how and where they will work in the event they are struck by the same disaster. Number 6, utilize the cloud. Cloud storage is becoming more and more advanced and can be an essential part of your disaster recovery plan. Make sure you thoroughly test the service you choose to gauge its efficacy in the event of data loss in your other backups. While natural disasters and other unexpected events can't be avoided, you can ease the burden of data loss and get your business up and running much more quickly following these best practices. While it may not seem as pressing as other day-to-day matters, having a disaster recovery plan is essential for the health of your business. While you hope to never need it, you will be so glad to have your ducks in a row in the event that you do. Now that you know how important it is to save documentation electronically, you may be wondering what the best method is to do so. You have a few options. You can store information online in folders such as Google Drive or Dropbox. You can also save files to a portable drive. If using a physical device, I recommend having at least 2 forms of backup stored in different locations. You'd hate for the drive you use to diligently save your documents to be damaged in a disaster. I have saved items both online and on an external hard drive. Now that I've described the methods you can use to save your records, I want to give a few recommendations for how to capture the information. First, let's talk mileage tracking. Of course, you can use a manual log to record your travel. When I first began my business, I kept a small notepad in my car and I jot down the date, where I was going, and my starting and ending mileage. Later, I'd enter this into an Excel sheet to easily add up the total miles. But for the last 6 or 7 years, I've used a mileage tracker through an app on my phone. Then once a week, I log in and post the trips and mention if they're business or personal and put any notes regarding the purpose. If you are interested in this option, check out the show notes, which includes a discount code for an annual subscription. For only dollars a month, you can have easy-to-use software to assist you with your mileage tracking. You can also see if the accounting software you use has an app that integrates the data into your system. No matter what option you choose, be sure to track your mileage to deduct the expense on your tax return and be able to support your claim in the event of an audit. Next, let's discuss how to electronically save your receipts. You can use software that allows you to take a photo of a receipt, put comments, and the expense categorization, and often syncs with your data file. And some accounting platforms have the ability for you to snap a picture from their app and automatically attach it to an expense, allowing you to look up receipts as needed. When it comes to banking, opt for smarter solutions. Look for a bank that offers multiple free checking accounts with no monthly fees. Regional banks and credit unions often offer more flexibility in waiving monthly fees. Another option is Relay Financial, an online bank. They boast no minimum balance requirements, 0 hidden fees, and handy receipt upload reminders via text and email. I began using Relay last year because of auto transfer rules I could set up for the profit first allocations I do for my own company. A link to their site is also listed in the show notes. Personal and business situations are constantly evolving, so be sure to review your emergency preparedness plan annually and make any necessary changes. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security's ready.gov website has resources and checklists to help you put together your emergency preparedness plan. You should also be sure to document the valuables you have in the event that they are lost or damaged in a disaster. Take video or photos of your business and personal valuables such as jewelry, collectibles, equipment, and anything else you may be able to claim for insurance and tax deduction purposes. If you're a victim of a natural disaster, know that there is relief when it comes to tax filing and payments. If you live or your business is located in a federally declared disaster area, visit Around the Nation on irs.gov and click on your state to review the available disaster tax relief. The IRS declared disaster areas are based on the FEMA's classifications. If your county qualifies for disaster relief, the IRS will automatically extend tax deadlines for individuals and businesses in the affected areas. Typical extensions vary based on the severity of the disaster and the type of tax. Note that an extension of time to file may not include an extension of time to pay. You should continue to make payments as close to your usual schedule as possible to avoid additional interest charges unless the IRS specifically notes payment deadlines are extended. If a major disaster disrupts your business and you are outside of the federally declared disaster area, you may also be eligible for relief, but it will not be granted automatically. If you have disaster-related questions, you can call the IRS Special Services Hotline at 866-562-5227 to speak with an IRS specialist trained to handle disaster issues. If you have lost tax documents, you can order transcripts or request copies of previously filed returns and attachments through Get Transcript on irs.gov by filing Form 5506, Request for Copy of Tax Return, or by calling 800-908-9946. I include information in my monthly newsletter with extended due dates and locations of federally declared disaster areas. If you'd like to receive this information, be sure to sign up for my newsletter. A link is in the show notes with the other resources mentioned. What should you do if you have losses due to a federally declared disaster? When a flood, fire, hurricane, or other disaster strikes your business, you may suffer heavy property damage along with lost sales during the time you're forced to close. Having a good understanding of the accounting rules related to natural disasters can help you fully account for your losses, reduce the economic harm to your business, and obtain financial relief through insurance, tax deductions, and other sources. You may be wondering, how do I account for inventory losses? First, conduct a manual count of your inventory as soon as it's practical to do so. Even if items are obviously a total loss, it's a good practice to document the specific losses due to the disaster versus what you might have lost due to shrinkage or some other means before the disaster. This may also help with the insurance claims process. You'll need to update your balance sheet to reflect the current value of your remaining inventory. You can generally include inventory losses as an expense when you prepare your financial statements and file your tax return. However, you will need to adjust for any insurance reimbursements. You cannot both claim a loss expense and exclude the insurance claim from your income. So what about property damage? Buildings or machinery are handled in a similar manner to inventory. If the damage is so substantial that it causes a significant decrease in the asset's market value or prevents you from using the asset as you intended, you may be required to take an impairment loss and reduce the asset's value on your balance sheet. If you filed an insurance claim and received a payout, how do you report the proceeds? The exact accounting treatment of insurance proceeds depends on the nature of the policy and when payments are made. However, there are a few common themes. Insurance is a gain if the payment is greater than the actual losses incurred. Record insurance proceeds when you know how much you'll receive. The goal is to accurately report your current assets and earnings. This includes totaling your losses so you can claim your full tax deductions and any other post-disaster benefits you may be entitled to. When you file your taxes, you may also be able to claim a deduction for any disaster-related decline in an asset's value that was not reimbursed by insurance. Now, let's consider what happens if you have staff working with you. If a disaster strikes and you have employees, how do you handle payroll after the emergency? If your business closes or brings in additional employees during a disaster, carefully review federal law, your local laws, and your employment agreements to determine whether you're legally obligated to pay your employees. Under the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, you may be required to pay exempt salaried employees during a temporary closing. In that circumstance, you may require your employees to use their paid leave time, but may not refuse to pay them if they have no available leave time. Under federal law, Non-exempt employees are generally only paid according to the time they worked and are therefore not legally entitled to pay during a closing. However, your local laws or your employment agreement may require you to pay employees who were originally scheduled to work during your closing. If you require employees to remain on site during a disaster, you must pay them for all time during which they are not permitted to leave. This includes overtime pay if it otherwise applies. If a disaster delays processing paychecks, you should make issuing them one of your first priorities. Willfully failing to pay your employees in a timely manner is a violation of the FLSA and may also violate state laws. While you might be excused from penalties during a power outage or when your office is inaccessible, you should not delay payroll to try to manage your post-disaster cash flow. If you're trying to manage your bookkeeping or payroll processing on your own, but you're overwhelmed and need assistance, reach out to us to discuss your specific situation. You can email us at contact@abandp.com or call 310-534-5577. My staff and I would be happy to chat with you. So there were many resources I mentioned in today's recording, so be sure to check them out in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in today. Would you please share this episode with those you know and leave a review on your favorite platform? And if you find our show informative, would you consider being a financial sponsor to help me continue my mission to educate business owners? A link is located in the episode description, and no amount is too small. I'd really appreciate your support. If you are interested in connecting with our guest and receiving the offer they had to share, a link to our resource page is in the show notes. Finally, if you have any bookkeeping or payroll needs, reach out to us at 310-534-5577 or contact@abandp.com. My team and I are eager to assist you. Until next time, have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Biz Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next time. Have a terrific day.